Alright, so here's the deal. I'm going to take you on a quick recap of what's going on with Project 3000, what's taking so long. I've ran into almost every speed bump, hiccup, whatever I could run into, and I'm literally at a complete standstill right now. So here's what's going on. Hopefully we can get back on track and get this thing done, because I'm ready to get this thing done. I didn't realize that making a budget show car would be so much of a headache, kind of. And yeah, well, it's become much of a headache. I feel like if this wasn't a budget build, that I could have bought proper things and it would have probably been done by now. But I mean, honestly, a lot of the stuff has to do with electrical. This thing's a 94, so the electrical aspect of this car, I don't think is up to standards for new age equipment. And that's honestly the hiccup I've come up with. A lot of the budget build has to do with electronics, sort of. So I'm going to have to upgrade my electrical system, and that's going to take a little bit more money than expected. But I guess that's part of being a car guy. So I've torn apart this interior mainly for speakers. I've already got the speakers installed. Literally just regular speakers. And after I installed these new speakers, it's drained my electrical capacity. It's such an old vehicle that I feel like the new age stuff, like just simple speakers, 4 speakers is all I installed. I didn't do anything else. I didn't put in subs. I didn't put in anything. And it drains my battery. So a lot of the other upgrades that I want to do for the budget build has to do with electronics. So I'm gonna have to upgrade my electrical system. So in a future video, I'm gonna do the big 3 for starts, because that's gonna be the cheapest thing to do. If that doesn't help, if that doesn't fix my wiring problem, which I honestly don't think it will, I'm gonna have to buy a high output alternator. And that sucks. The first thing I did to this car was buy a new alternator, just a stock OEM alternator. So that sucks that if the big 3 doesn't work, it sucks that I'm gonna have to buy a new alternator. But I have to do what I gotta do to get this thing complete, to get this thing finished. Oh well. Shout out to my mom for being my #1 YouTube fan and getting me an air compressor for my birthday. Thanks, Mom. I have these subs. And I put that on hold, obviously, because of the whole electrical issue. But I have all the wiring. I did all the wiring. I don't have anything hooked up to the battery, so it's not draining anything for no reason. But all the wiring's hooked up. It's all tucked in, or at least when I get my panels back in, it'll be non-visible. But it's all tucked in and ready to go. Again, like I said, I have to wait to see about upgrading my electrical system for the subs. On top of the subs being electrical, I have one more thing, I think. One more thing electrical that I want to do to this car. And that should be it. So hopefully I can get this electrical system upgraded and get the ball rolling. Let's go to suspension. From my lowering spring install video, if you remember, I was very disappointed with the Eibach Pro Kit drop. Like it did, I still didn't, actually I still haven't done the back But from the time I made the video to now, it has dropped a little bit, like I knew it would, but still not enough, I don't think, to call this a budget show car. But here's what's going on with that. I have been talking back and forth with this guy about budget coilovers. He doesn't have them in stock right now. They're the perfect price, but the reason I didn't want to go with cheap coilovers is safety. I don't want to, even though this is a budget build, I don't really want to like skimp out on something as important as suspension. But that's also the reason why I didn't want to cut springs. I didn't want to cut springs because I know a lot of people do it, and in today's day and age where everybody's all about the camera gang and whatnot, I know it's a popular thing to do, and I don't know. I don't feel cut springs are that safe. I don't want to cut the springs, but I also don't want to get cheap coilovers. But I want to keep with the budget build aspect. So I've been talking to this guy back and forth about these budget coilovers, and I've done a bunch of review on them, and they seem to be okay. They seem to be very good for the price. Unfortunately, he doesn't have them in stock, and he won't have them in stock until the beginning of the year. So I have another 2 weeks, give or take, if he actually gets them back in stock. I have another 2 weeks or so to decide whether I want to go with the budget coilovers or if I just want to cut these iBox springs. And considering this is a budget build, it would have been completely free to lower the car by just cutting the springs. The reason I didn't want to cut the stock springs is because I cannot find stock OEM springs anywhere, and if I cut too much, I'd be screwed. So that's why I went ahead and bought the iBox lowering springs. But I thought the iBox lowering springs would lower the car more than it actually did, and I just wasn't happy with the outcome. So I got another couple weeks to decide whether I want to spend more money on these budget coilovers or if I want to just cut these, because I still have the stock springs that came with the car. So if anything happens to these, I'm just pretty much out a couple $100. Other than that, that's really all that's going on right now with this. That's what's been going on with this build. I've been piddling around putting the car back together, and just with my job and everything, I haven't had time for anything really. I've had a family emergency actually happen last night that I don't want to get into. But I've taken time off work. They're fine with it. So I'm going to take this time to try to tie up loose ends and just try to get the ball rolling again, I guess. Yeah. That's what's going on with Project 3000. But it will be done. I was wanting this thing to be done before summer was over, and that just did not happen whatsoever. So I'm going to make a promise. I know for a fact that this car will be done next summer. This coming summer, this car will be done. I can promise you that. Project 3000 is pretty much on a standstill right now, but I'm not gonna let that it's gonna happen. We're gonna have a budget show car, and that's it. So keep watching. this thing will be done. And I have some other things in the works as well. So, keep watching, and I'll see you guys next time. TREACE out.